Bob Ferngren, and I'm back with another 8-minute video on network marketing. Hey, can you post below where you're at? And hey, what's the temperature where you're at today? Hey, listen, guys, I'm in a series of calls of things you can do right now. Things you can do right now. But let's put a little bit more context around this, okay? I mean, if you're in this thing to win this thing, and if you're serious about this and you're serious about building a pretty good sized business, then you got to look at yourself as the owner of a business, as a CEO. So I've been a CEO. I've been a CEO of several big companies, smaller companies. And one of the most important things is understanding how to market, right? How to market. So I'll give you do it right now by the time we're out of here, but I just want you to get some context. Put yourself in the middle, okay? You're in the middle. This is going to be like the hub, and there's going to be spokes for you. Spokes for you to prospect. Okay, so you're in the middle. Your job is to drive revenue and recruiting, customers, business builders, and of course, in our industry, only the legitimate network marketing companies are based on products moving out of the warehouse. That's, I'm assuming you're a part of, I'm a part of, so we're completely legit. And so our job is to be able to funnel prospects into a process from different sources that eventually builds that revenue and recruiting. Okay, so you now understand what you're doing, right? So that's the hub. You're driving revenue and recruiting through all of these different prospect spokes. So what are the spokes? Well, here's a spoke, and I talked to you about it in the previous videos, the cold market. Okay, so that's a spoke. But actually, there's more spokes to the cold market. There's school. If you have kids in school or you're in school, there's church. There's your job. And of course, do never steal time from your employer to do network marketing. But of course, before, lunch, after, those are contacts, people you work with. And some of them you may not know, but these are places that you can find people in these various cold markets. Your gym, your hair salon, you go to the post office. I mean, there's 1,000 things that you can create spokes for, right? Cold market, warm market. There's probably people that you use regularly for service, like your lawn care guy, your various repair people, your FedEx guy, the person who cuts your hair, the grocery store that you go to and you've built relationships with people. See, those are spokes. Now, you got to create this. I mean, I think you should create it on paper. This is how I built it to ridiculous incomes over the years, is I created it on paper first. So what are other spokes? Social media, but then there's more spokes in the social media category rather than a broad brush. Of course, there's Facebook, there's Instagram, there's Snapchat, there's Parler, there's Rumble, there's Twitter, there's LinkedIn. So those are all spokes, right, that are under that big spoke called social media. These are all, like, think about them as feeders to your revenue and recruiting, feeder sources to your revenue and recruiting. This is how a CEO thinks, by the way, at least I did, is we have to have multiple ways to bring in revenue, and in our case, also recruiting. Multiple ways, multiple sources. So there's probably more. In your life, there's probably a lot more spokes. If you really think about it, your neighborhood, it's either cold market or warm market. You know people in the neighborhood, and there's some people you don't know in your neighborhood. I mean, have you reached out to everyone in your neighborhood? Here's a great one. your cell phone contact list. In truth, how many people have you really reached out to in your cell phone contact list about your opportunity? So you see, right? So you're the middle, right? Your job is to generate revenue, generate recruiting. This is personal frontline stuff. You're generating revenue, you're generating recruiting, but you have all these sources. Now, some of them could be really hot right now. Maybe you're new and picking up a lot of people from Facebook. That will eventually dwindle based on the number of friends and followers you have. Maybe you haven't even dabbled into Instagram and that could take off for you. Maybe you've been reluctant about talking to your neighbors about an opportunity. I literally have gotten in various neighborhoods I've lived in, gotten the HOA list of residents and literally sent out handwritten notes with samples to every neighbor. And I've done that in two good-sized neighborhoods I've lived, because there's right there. I live in the neighborhood, and gosh, there's any number of things that you can say are spokes for you. But you see, then maybe you have that on a wall or a whiteboard, so you're always visualizing it. And okay, so if this is hot, you want to pour more gasoline on it. If you haven't even done anything over there in another category, then that's always there for you. You see, there's an endless stream of potential prospects for you. If you're looking at this correctly, you will never run out of people, because as I've said in previous videos, it's simply about making more friends, right? So if you made more friends in your neighborhood, sooner or later, friends want to do what friends are doing. Of course, if you make more friends on Instagram, more friends, more followers, and you do it right, you're not pukey and manipulative, eventually that's going to be a great resource for you. Same with LinkedIn, same with other cold market, and same with other warm market opportunities. If your mindset is relationship first, friends first, all of those become these streams flowing into this ever-growing pool of revenue and recruiting for you. So that's kind of cool, right? That is so cool. Well, here's a do it now for you. I've talked a lot about friends in this series. Why don't you just make up your mind that every day you're going to meet some minimum amount of new people. You're going to meet some minimum amount of new people. I'll give you my technique. We go to lunch. I can treat that person as an order taker, or I can treat that person as a person. Now, if they're dull as dishwater, I'm not going to put a lot of effort into it. But if there's a little zip, if there's a little wiggle in their waggle, I'm going to stick with them. And so they're going to come up and, do their thing. And I'm going to say, what's your name? And through the course of that meal, I want to make a friend. I'm in business here. Let me check, because I just got a call. I don't know if it cut me off. Oh, it's still working. That's why I went over to doing YouTube lives, because forget that's neither here nor there. So I'm gonna make a friend. Now, a friend to me is an acquaintance, right? That could be a friend, and of course we want to move them to a connection on Facebook. And yet I haven't said anything about my business. I'm gonna learn some things about it. So if I'm in a gym, I'm gonna get a new name today. My goal has always been to meet 3 new people a day. Not to close 3 people a day, but to meet 3 new people. Now, that may be way past what you would do, so you'll write it off. Just make it 1. You can actually meet people online. The vast majority of my business was built from the ice cold internet world, and I'm going to teach you more about that in this series. But my whole thing was make friends first. Add value, make friends first. So pick a number from 1 to whatever and say, I will always get at least 1 new name a day, or 3 new names a day, or 5 new names. Think about that and what that could mean down the road for you. You got to play the long game here. You rarely get a new person's name and they jump right to Business Builder. But if you play it right, you've got an ever-growing list, and the list is really your capital. Isn't that cool? So simple. Just make more friends.